The government of Mexico has already made explicit its position condemning the military aggression of January 3rd against targets on Venezuelan territory, in clear violation of Article 2 of the United Nations Charter. These actions must not be allowed, as they represent a serious blow to the Charter and to multilateralism. Mexico would like to clarify the following 4 points. Number 1, the prohibition of the threat or use of force against the sovereignty, territorial integrity, or political independence of any state is the foundation of international law, regardless of the country or government involved. Number 2, rhetoric that points toward an escalation or expansion of military actions, including those involving other countries in our region, threatens regional stability. Number 3, the Security Council has the primary responsibility and indeed the solemn obligation to always act decisively and with utmost resolve and without double standards in the face of truly grave and egregious violations of its foundational charter, and to effectively and promptly restore international global peace and stability and security in strict and unwavering adherence to the fundamental provisions of its Article 24 and diligently observing its Article 27, specifically paragraph 3. Number 4, it is up to sovereign peoples to decide their own destiny and to find peaceful, democratic, and negotiated solutions to their political differences within a framework of absolute respect for human rights. Regime changes by external actors and the application of extraterritorial measures are not only acts contrary to international law, but have historically exacerbated conflicts and weakened the social and political fabric of nations. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, despite the political differences between our governments, Latin America and the Caribbean have forged themselves as a zone of peace. Collectively, for many decades now, we have consistently turned to the available political and established legal mechanisms for the peaceful and effective resolution of disputes and disagreements. The ongoing violation of this delicate and precarious fragile balance undeniably puts the broader political stability and overall security of the entire region and also the collective well-being of our peoples at a profoundly serious and alarming risk. Those who justify these acts deny the independent history of Latin America and the Caribbean. Mexico, steadfast in its constitutional principles of foreign policy and its pacifist vocation, emphatically reiterates that dialogue and negotiation are the only legitimate and effective means to resolve existing differences. I reiterate the call of the President of Mexico for the UN to do more to resolve this and other conflicts, including through the efforts of its Secretary General. In light of the events of January 3rd, Mexico reaffirms its willingness to support any effort to facilitate dialogue, mediation, or accompaniment that promotes peace in the region. Finally, we cannot overlook the fact that this Council session is only being held today, when what we are facing is a serious situation that endangers international peace and security. Thank you, Mr. President.
Since September of last year, Cuba has been denouncing the hegemonic and criminal plans of the United States and its aggressive stance against Venezuela and the region. We have clearly exposed the serious and unpredictable consequences of the irresponsible conduct of the United States government for the political, social, and economic stability of Latin America and the Caribbean, and more broadly, for international peace and stability. On December 23rd of last year, we presented before this very body the sequence and escalation of actions carried out by the United States in record time with the aim of forcibly overthrowing the legitimate and constitutional government of Venezuela and destroying the civil-military union. The United States resorted to various maneuvers to carry out its plans for domination, including vile extrajudicial executions and acts of piracy, maritime terrorism against oil tankers and their crews in international waters of the Caribbean Sea, as well as the imposition of an illegal naval blockade against Venezuela and the politically motivated designation of its legitimate government as a foreign terrorist organization. Previously, it had subjected that country to prolonged unilateral coercive measures, economic strangulation, smear campaigns, and attacks against some of its important institutions, exposing it to a brutal psychological war. With absolute disregard for the United Nations Charter and international law, including relevant resolutions adopted by this Council and by the General Assembly, on January 3rd, U.S. military forces attacked Venezuela with total brutality and treachery, and in an unacceptable and barbaric act kidnapped its legitimate president, Nicolas Maduro, and his partner, Celia Flores. Cuba condemns in the strongest terms the United States' military aggression against Venezuela, while also categorically reiterating its absolute support and solidarity with the Venezuelan people and government, and joins the demand that the United States government release the constitutional president Nicolas Maduro Moros and his partner Celia Flores. In the criminal attack perpetrated by the United States, 32 Cubans lost their lives in combat actions while carrying out missions on behalf of the Revolutionary Armed Forces and the Ministry of the Interior at the request of counterpart agencies from that country. Our compatriots fulfilled their duty with dignity and fell after fierce resistance in direct combat against the attackers or as a result of the bombings of the facilities. With their heroic actions, they were able to uphold the spirit of solidarity felt by millions of their compatriots. Mr. President, the cowardly U.S. aggression against Venezuela is a criminal act in violation of international law and the Charter of the UN. It constitutes a dangerous escalation of the war campaign waged for years by the United States against that sister nation, which intensified since September 2025 with the aggressive naval deployment in the Caribbean Sea under false pretenses and baseless accusations without any evidence. The military attack by the United States against Venezuela has no justification whatsoever, does not respond to any provocation, nor does it have any legitimacy. It is based on the abhorrent doctrine of peace through force and undermines the stability and peace that have characterized our Latin American and Caribbean region for years. It seeks to bring about a change in the constitutional order of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, which was freely chosen by its people. Its ultimate goal is not the false narrative of fighting drug trafficking, but rather control over Venezuela's land and natural resources, as has been openly and brazenly stated by President Trump and his Secretary of State. This is an imperialist and fascist aggression with aims of domination, seeking to revive U.S. hegemonic ambitions over our America, rooted in the outdated Monroe Doctrine. It also seeks to intimidate and subdue the governments of Latin America and the Caribbean.